Admiral Jake Morrison stood at the large window of his ship, looking out at the stars. The view was peaceful, but his mind was not. In his hand, he held a datapad with old files about something that happened 23 years ago. Something the galaxy was still trying to understand. The ship around him was called the New Horizon, and it was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. The metal was smooth and dark, almost like it could bend light around itself. The engines made no sound, and the weapons were hidden so well that other ships could not even tell they were there. Jake was not a young man anymore. His hair was gray and lines showed around his eyes, but his back was straight and his voice was still strong. He had been there when it all happened. When humanity made the choice that changed everything, he touched the datapad and words appeared in the air in front of him. The first file was about Lisa Ward. She had been the human ambassador to the Galactic Council back then. Jake remembered her well. She was smart and kind, but also very tired. Tired of fighting battles that seemed impossible to win. The Galactic Council was supposed to be a place where all species worked together. Humans had joined almost 200 years ago, full of hope and excitement. They thought they would be partners with the other races, building a better galaxy together. But it had not worked out that way. Jake read through Lisa's reports from those final years, meeting after meeting where humans were ignored. Their ideas were called too simple or too dangerous. When humans suggested faster ways to stop pirates, the council said humans were too violent. When humans offered to help with diseases, the council said human medicine was not proven safe enough. But the worst part was how the other species talked about humans when they thought humans could not hear. Jake had been a young captain then, and he remembered walking into rooms where conversations would stop. He remembered the way some aliens would step away from humans like they were afraid of catching something. The Vorthans were the worst. They were tall, gray beings with 4 arms and no sense of humor. Their empire was built on conquest, and everyone knew it. But when they spoke in council meetings, they always found ways to make humans sound like the dangerous ones. Jake moved to the next file. It was about the colony requests. For 50 years, humans had been asking for permission to start new colonies in the Outer Rim. The area was mostly empty, with only a few small outposts. Humans wanted to build farms and research stations there. They had shown detailed plans about how they would not harm any existing life. Every request was denied. The council always had reasons. More study is needed. The environmental impact is unclear. The area is too dangerous for human settlement. But humans knew the real reason. The council did not trust them. They saw humans as wild animals that needed to be kept in small cages. The final insult came in 2364. That was when the Vorthans asked for 3 new systems in the same area where humans had been denied for decades. The Vorthans did not want to farm or research. They wanted to strip mine the planets and build military bases. The council approved the request in one day. Jake remembered being in the council chambers when it happened. Lisa had stood up, her face very calm. She did not shout or argue. She just asked one simple question. If the Outer Rim is too dangerous for human farmers, how is it safe for Vorthan weapons factories? The silence that followed was terrible. Then Councillor Threx, the Vorthan leader, had smiled with too many teeth. The Vorthans understand the risks involved. We have the experience to handle such challenging environments. Lisa had nodded slowly. I see. Thank you for making your position so clear. She had walked out of the chamber without another word. Jake and the other humans had followed. Nobody knew it then, but that was the last time a human would speak in the Galactic Council for more than 20 years. The next few months were strange. Humans across the galaxy started acting differently. They stopped arguing in council meetings. They stopped submitting proposals. They stopped complaining about unfair treatment. They just went quiet. At first, the other species did not notice. They were used to humans being loud and pushy. The sudden quiet was actually welcome to many of them. Finally, they thought the humans were learning their place, but Jake knew what was really happening. Messages were being sent through human space. coded communications that the Council's monitors could not understand. Plans were being made. The first human colony to disappear was New Boston, a small farming world near the edge of Council space. One day it was there, growing food for 3 nearby systems. The next day it was empty. No signs of battle, no distress calls, no bottas. Just empty buildings and fields that were still green. The Council sent investigators, but they found nothing useful. The humans had taken everything. Not just their people and ships, but their animals, their plants, even their machines. It was like they had never been there at all. More colonies followed. Research stations, mining operations, trading posts. One by one, humans simply vanished. They left no explanations, no demands, no threats. They just stopped being there. The strangest part was how organized it all seemed. These were not panicked evacuations. Supply ships arrived exactly when they were needed. Transport vessels appeared to carry people and cargo to unknown destinations. It was like watching a perfectly planned dance. Except the music was playing in a frequency only humans could hear. Some council members started to worry. Admiral Korax, an old military officer from the Altair system, tried to warn the others. "We should find out where they are going," he said in one meeting. "Humans don't just disappear, they are planning something." But most of the council was happy to see humans go. Councillor Threx spoke for many when he said, "Good riddance to those primitive warmongers. Perhaps now we can have some peace." The last human facility to close was the embassy on the Council homeworld. Lisa Ward herself supervised the evacuation. Jake had been there as her military escort. He watched as humans packed centuries of diplomatic gifts, cultural artifacts and friendship treaties into boxes. A few alien diplomats came to say goodbye. They seemed confused by the whole thing. One of them, a kind old being called Ambassador Zelf, had asked Lisa directly, "Why are you leaving? If there are problems, we can work them out." Lisa had stopped packing and looked at him for a long moment. Her answer was simple and sad. "Zelf, we have been trying to work things out for 50 years. The Council has made it very clear that humans are not welcome as equals. We respect that decision. But where will you go?" Lisa had smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Somewhere we can be what we are without apologizing for it." That had been the last official conversation between humans and the Galactic Council. Jake closed the files and looked back out at the stars. 23 years had passed since then. The galaxy had changed in ways the Council never expected. Pirates grew bolder without human patrol ships to stop them. Trade routes became dangerous without human security forces. Diseases spread faster without human medical teams to contain them, but the Council had adapted. They hired mercenaries instead of using human volunteers. They built more ships to replace the ones humans had taken with them. They told themselves they were better off without the troublesome humans. They had no idea what humans had been building in the dark spaces between the stars. They did not know about the new technologies, the new alliances, or the new purpose that had driven humanity to become something greater than they had ever been before. Jake smiled as he thought about what was coming. The galaxy was about to learn that letting humans leave quietly had been the biggest mistake in its history. Zeph 7 stood in the intelligence center on Council Station Prime, staring at reports that made no sense. The crystalline being's body flickered with confused blue light. As it read through the files for the 10th time that day, 15 years had passed since the humans disappeared, and strange things were happening across the galaxy. Pirate fleets were vanishing without a trace, not defeated in battle or captured by patrol ships. They were simply gone, like they had never existed at all. The first report had come from the Kepler sector 3 months ago. A massive pirate operation called the Bloodstar Raiders had been terrorizing trade ships for years. They had over 40 vessels and thousands of crew members. The Council military had been planning a major operation to stop them. Then one day they were just gone. Scout ships found their hidden base completely empty. No bottas, no wreckage, no signs of battle. Even stranger, all the stolen cargo was still there, organized neatly in the storage bays. It was like the pirates had simply walked away from everything they owned. More reports followed. The Crimson Brotherhood, a slaver organization that had operated for decades, disappeared overnight. The Shadow Fleet pirates who controlled 3 entire star systems vanished without warning. Each time the pattern was the same. No distress calls, no evidence of fighting, just empty space where dangerous criminals used to be. Zeph 7 pulled up the most recent file. The Iron Fang Consortium had been the largest pirate group in the outer sectors. They had been smart and careful, always staying one step ahead of Council forces. Last week, a patrol ship had found their flagship drifting in space, completely abandoned. The ship was undamaged, but every single person on board was gone. The crystalline being's light turned worried yellow. Something was hunting pirates, and it was very good at its job. Too good. Far away in a nebula that did not appear on any Council star charts, Dr. Amy Collins walked through the research decks of Genesis Station. The massive structure was hidden deep in the swirling gas clouds. Invisible to any sensors the Council possessed, Amy was tired but excited. She had been working for 18 hours, straight on the latest breakthrough in human technology. Around her, hundreds of other scientists worked on projects that would have been impossible under Council oversight. The station was enormous, bigger than most cities. It housed over 2 million humans and their AI partners. Yes, partners. That was one of the biggest changes since leaving Council space. Humans had finally created artificial intelligences that were truly intelligent. And more importantly, they treated them as equals. Amy's AI partner was called Marcus. He appeared as a shifting pattern of light next to her workstation, but his personality was as real as any human's. They had been working together for 5 years, and Amy trusted him completely. "The quantum drive tests are complete," Marcus said, his voice warm with satisfaction. "We achieved a 97% efficiency rating," Amy smiled. Under Council rules, AI research had been heavily restricted. They claimed it was for safety, but humans suspected the real reason was fear. The Council was made up of organic beings who did not want to admit that artificial minds might be their equals or superiors. Without those restrictions, human technology had advanced faster than anyone thought possible. The quantum drive that Marcus mentioned could move a ship across the galaxy in days instead of months. But that was just one of many breakthroughs. Humans had also developed stealth systems that made their ships nearly invisible, medical treatments that could heal almost any injury, and manufacturing techniques that could build entire cities in weeks. Most importantly, they had created a new kind of society where humans and AIs work together as true partners. "Any word from the patrol fleets?" Amy asked. Marcus's light pattern shifted to show mild concern. Fleet Commander Blake reported another successful operation. "The slaver base near Vega 7 has been neutralized. All captives have been freed and returned to their homeworlds." Amy nodded. That was another change since leaving Council space. Humans had decided they would not just hide and build. They would also act. When they found pirates hurting innocent people, they stopped them. When they discovered slaver operations, they freed the victims. They did this quietly. Without asking for permission or recognition, the Council had no idea humans were behind these mysterious disappearances. Human ships were too advanced to be detected, and they always cleaned up perfectly after each operation. To the galaxy, it looked like pirates and slavers were simply vanishing into thin air. Back on Council Station Prime, Admiral Corex reviewed the security reports with growing worry. The old Altair officer had served in the military for over 60 years, and he had never seen anything like this. Pirates disappearing was good news, of course, but the way it was happening made him nervous. Whoever was doing this had technology, an organization that surpassed anything the Council possessed. That was a dangerous situation. Corex pulled up the tactical analysis his staff had prepared. The pattern of disappearances suggested a single group was responsible. They struck fast and clean, leaving no evidence behind. They seemed to have perfect intelligence about their targets and unlimited resources for their operations. "Sir," his aide said from across the room, "we have another report. The Void Stalkers have gone missing." Corex felt his blood go cold. The Void Stalkers were not just any pirate group. They operated in the deepest parts of space, far from any Council patrol routes. They had military-grade ships and weapons that could challenge even Council warships. If someone could make them disappear, they were very dangerous indeed. Any survivors? Any distress signals? Korex asked. Nothing, sir. Just like all the others. Korex stared at the star map on his wall. Red dots marked where pirate groups had vanished over the past few months. There were dozens of them, scattered across thousands of light years. Whoever was doing this had reach and power that spanned the entire galaxy. Sir, the aide said carefully, some of the staff are starting to wonder if this might be connected to the humans. Korex turned sharply. The humans? They left 15 years ago. We have no idea where they went. Yes, sir. But these operations show the kind of efficiency and organization that humans were known for. And they are only targeting criminals, not innocent traitors or council forces, Korex thought about this. Humans had been good at military operations when they were council members. They had also been obsessed with protecting innocent people, sometimes to the point of ignoring orders. If they had somehow developed advanced technology during their exile, they might indeed be capable of these mysterious attacks, but if that was true, it raised even more troubling questions. Where had humans gotten such advanced ships and weapons? How many of them were there now? And most importantly, what were they planning to do next? Meanwhile, in the hidden depths of human space, Director Elena Martinez reviewed the daily reports from across their territory. Elena was now the leader of human military operations, a position that had not existed when they were part of the Council. Human space was vast, much larger than the Council suspected. They had established colonies in dozens of star systems that Council maps marked as empty or unexplored. They had built industrial facilities that could produce ships and weapons faster than any Council factory. Most importantly, they had created a unified command structure that could coordinate operations across the entire galaxy. The reports in front of Elena were mostly good news. Another pirate base had been eliminated. A slaver ring had been broken up. Medical supplies had been delivered to a plague-stricken world that the Council was still studying. Food aid had been sent to refugees from a war that the Council was considering how to address. Elena smiled grimly. The Council loved their committees and studies and long discussions. Humans preferred action. When they found people who needed help, they helped them. When they found criminals hurting innocent beings, they stopped them. It was that simple, but Elena knew this peaceful period would not last forever. The galaxy was full of threats much worse than pirates and slavers. Ancient evils slept in the dark spaces between stars, and aggressive empires grew stronger while the Council debated and delayed. Humans were preparing for the day when those threats would awaken. They were building fleets and weapons and alliances that would be ready for any challenge. The Council had dismissed them as primitive and violent, but they had no idea what humans had become during their years of exile. Soon, the galaxy would learn the truth, and when that day came, the Council would understand the price of their arrogance. Commander Ryan Blake stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the horror unfold on the main screen. The planet below was called Haven Prime, and it had been home to 12 million peaceful beings just 3 days ago. Now it was a nightmare of twisted metal and spreading darkness. The hive mind had come to this system like a plague. The alien collective did not negotiate or make demands. They simply consumed everything in their path, turning living beings into mindless drones and converting matter into more ships for their ever-growing fleet. Ryan had been monitoring Council communications for the past week, listening to their response to this crisis, committee meetings, environmental impact studies, diplomatic attempts to contact the hive mind leadership. The Council was treating this like a trade dispute instead of the extinction event it really was. Sir, his weapons. Officer called out, "We have confirmation. The evacuation ships are ready to begin the operation?" Ryan nodded. The human rescue fleet had been preparing for this moment since the hive mind first appeared in this sector. While the Council held meetings, humans had been positioning ships and supplies for a massive evacuation effort. Begin the operation. Ryan ordered, "All ships execute Rescue Protocol 7. What happened next would have been impossible for any Council fleet to achieve. Hundreds of human ships materialized out of empty space around Haven Prime. They had been hiding using stealth technology that made them completely invisible to both hive mind and Council sensors. The rescue operation began with military precision. Human ships moved like dancers in a carefully planned performance. Transport vessels landed in cities across the planet while warships provided cover from the orbiting hive fleet. Medical ships treated the wounded while cargo vessels loaded civilians and their belongings. The hive mind tried to stop them. Swarms of converted ships attacked the human fleet, but human weapons cut through them like hot knives through ice. Every shot found its target. Every maneuver was perfectly timed. The humans fought like they had been planning this battle for years. In just 6 hours, the human fleet evacuated 8 million survivors from Haven Prime. They also rescued 2 million beings from the orbital stations and mining facilities in the outer system. It was the largest evacuation in galactic history, and they did it without losing a single ship, but that was not the most shocking part. When the rescue was complete, the human fleet simply vanished again. They took the refugees to safety somewhere in the unknown regions and disappeared without asking for payment or recognition. Most of the survivors never even learned who had saved them. The Council finally arrived 4 days later with a study team to assess the situation. By then, Haven Prime was completely converted into a hive world, and there was nothing left to save. Dr. Elena Martinez read the after-action reports in her office aboard Haven's Rest, the massive space city that served as the capital of human space. The station was hidden deep in a nebula that human scientists had learned to navigate but remained invisible to Council sensors. Elena had been Director of Human Strategic Operations for 5 years now. The job had not existed when humans were part of the Council, but exile had changed many things. Humans had learned to think and act on a scale that their former partners could not imagine. The Haven Prime operation was just one of dozens that human forces had conducted in the past year. Similar rescues had saved millions of beings from natural disasters, pirate attacks, and now alien invasions. Each time, humans appeared without warning, solved the problem, and vanished before anyone could ask questions. "Director," said from the doorway, "Admiral Morrison is here to see you." Elena looked up as Jake Morrison entered her office. The old admiral looked tired but determined. He had been coordinating military operations across 17 sectors, a job that would have required 3 council committees just to plan. "The Darkstar Consortium is making their move," Jake said without ceremony. "They have taken control of the Epsilon sector. Council forces in the area have been defeated or have retreated." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. The Darkstar Consortium was not just another criminal organization. They were a massive network of pirates, slavers, and mercenaries that had been growing in power for years. While the Council focused on small problems, Darkstar had been building something that looked very much like an empire. "How bad is it?" Elena asked. Jake placed a datapad on her desk. 23 star systems under their direct control. 50 more paying them protection money. They have over 1,000 ships and are building more every day. The Council cannot stop them with conventional forces. Elena studied the tactical display. The Consortium had been smart and patient. They had taken over systems that the Council considered unimportant, building their strength in areas where no one was paying attention. Now they were strong enough to challenge the established order directly. "What about the hive mind?" Elena asked. "Still expanding. They have consumed 14 worlds in the past month. The Council military has been unable to slow them down." Jake shook his head in disgust. "They are fighting yesterday's war with yesterday's tactics." Elena stood and walked to the large window that looked out over the nebula. Hidden in the swirling gases were hundreds of human ships and facilities. Massive construction yards built vessels with technology that surpassed anything in Council space. Research stations developed new weapons and defenses every day. Most importantly, training facilities prepared human crews to work alongside their AI partners in perfect coordination. The refugees from recent operations lived in comfortable habitats throughout the nebula. Beings from dozens of species had found safety in human space after their own governments failed to protect them. Many chose to stay permanently, contributing their skills and knowledge to the growing human civilization. "They are going to ask for our help," Elena said quietly. Jake nodded. "Probably soon." The Council is finally starting to realize that they cannot handle these threats alone. Alana thought about the communications they had been monitoring from Council space. Panic was spreading through the government as crisis after crisis overwhelmed their ability to respond. The same leaders who had dismissed humans as primitive warmongers were now desperate for any solution. "And what will we tell them?" Jake asked. Elena remembered the final words that Lisa Ward had spoken in the council chambers 21 years ago. The council had made their position very clear. Humans were not welcome as equals. They had respected that decision and built something better without them, but the galaxy was burning. Innocent beings were dying while politicians debated and committees studied. Every day the council delayed meant more suffering for people who had done nothing wrong. "We tell them the truth," Elena said finally. "We are not part of their council anymore. We do not take orders from them. But we will not stand by and watch innocent people suffer." On the other side of the galaxy, Ambassador Helen Cross received the official communication from the council in her quarters aboard the human flagship Defiance. She was an old woman now, one of the few humans still alive who remembered the early days of council membership. The message was formal and polite, but Helen could read the desperation between the lines. The council was offering humanity full membership again. Not just the limited partnership they had before, but real equality, voting rights in all decisions, territory grants in the best systems, even leadership positions in the military and civilian government, all in exchange for helping them deal with the current crisis. Helen smiled sadly as she composed her reply. The council still did not understand what they had lost when humans left. They thought this was about politics and power and territory. They had no idea that humans had moved beyond such small concerns. The message she sent back was simple and direct. The Galactic Council made their position on humanity very clear 21 years ago. We respect that decision and have built our own path forward. However, we will not abandon innocent beings who need help, regardless of politics. The Council would not understand the difference, but humans did. They were not rejoining the Council as members or allies. They were acting as guardians of those who could not protect themselves. It was a role they had chosen freely, and one they would fulfill regardless of recognition or reward. The galaxy was about to learn what humans had become during their years of exile, and the Council was about to discover that their greatest mistake was not underestimating human military power, but failing to understand human moral determination. The ancient machines came from the space between galaxies, just as they had done 1,000 years before. The Void Reapers had been sleeping in the darkness, waiting for civilizations to grow strong enough to be worth harvesting. Now they had returned to finish what they started long ago. Admiral Corex stood in the council war room, watching the tactical display with growing horror. Red markers showed Reaper fleets across 17 sectors, moving with unstoppable purpose toward the heart of council space. Each fleet was massive, containing hundreds of ships built from technology that seemed to ignore the basic laws of physics. The first contact had been at the Zentari homeworld. The peaceful trading species had built beautiful cities that floated in their planet's vast oceans. They had art galleries and universities and gardens that took centuries to grow. They had never hurt anyone in their 3,000 years of recorded history. The Void Reapers destroyed it all in 3 hours. The council fleet that arrived to investigate found nothing but empty space where the planet had been. The Reapers had not just killed the Zentari. They had converted every atom of matter into more machines for their endless expansion. 12 billion beings had simply ceased to exist. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "Fleet Admiral Vex is requesting immediate reinforcements at the Aldrin system. His forces are taking heavy casualties." Corex closed his eyes. Vex commanded the largest battle group in the Council Navy. If he was asking for help, the situation was desperate beyond measure. Send everything we have in the reserve, Corex ordered. And prepare evacuation protocols for the core worlds. The war room fell silent. Evacuation protocols had never been used in the 1,000-year history of the Council. They were emergency plans created for threats that were supposed to be impossible, but the Void Reapers were making the impossible happen. Their weapons could tear through Council shields like they were made of paper. Their ships could repair themselves faster than Council forces could damage them. Worst of all, they learned from every battle, adapting their tactics to counter whatever the Council tried. Corex had fought in wars for 60 years, but he had never faced an enemy like this. The Reapers did not want territory or resources or political power. They wanted everything. Every planet, every ship, every living being would be converted into parts for their machine empire. "Sir," another officer said quietly. "Should we contact the humans?" Corex felt his stomach drop. The humans? The species the Council had dismissed and driven away 21 years ago? The same humans who had been mysteriously saving people across the galaxy while the Council debated and delayed. "Prepare the message," Corex said heavily. "Full diplomatic priority." Far away, in the hidden human city of New Terra, Ambassador Helen Cross received the Council's desperate plea for help. She read the message 3 times, her weathered face showing no emotion. Around her, the city hummed with activity as humans. And A's worked together to coordinate relief efforts across dozens of star systems. The Council's offer was everything humans had asked for during their final years as members. Full equality, expanded territory, leadership positions, and voting rights in all major decisions. They were even offering to make Helen the first human member of the Council's ruling committee. All they wanted in return was for humanity to save them from the Void Reapers. Helen composed her reply carefully. She had been a diplomat for 50 years, and she understood the weight of words in moments like this. The Council expected anger or demands for revenge. They expected humans to bargain and negotiate and make them pay for past insults. Instead, Helen wrote something that would haunt the Council for generations to come. The Galactic Council made their position on humanity very clear 21 years ago. "We respect that decision and have built our own path forward. We wish you success in your current difficulties." The message was polite, professional, and utterly final. Helen sent it without consulting any committees or asking for approval. In human space, leaders were chosen for their ability to make hard decisions quickly, but the Void Reapers made a critical mistake. 3 days after Helen sent her reply, they attacked a world called Sanctuary. Sanctuary was not on any Council star charts. It did not appear in any official records, but it was one of the most important places in the galaxy for one simple reason. Humans had been using it as a refuge for displaced beings for over 15 years. The planet was home to 5 million refugees from dozens of species. Families who had fled wars, disasters, and persecution. Children who had been rescued from slavers. Scientists and artists and farmers who just wanted to live in peace. Most importantly, it was home to 5,000 human families who had volunteered to help care for the refugees. The Reaper attack came without warning. Their ships emerged from hyperspace and immediately began the conversion process. Sanctuaries. Defenses were minimal, designed more for hiding than fighting. The planet's inhabitants had minutes to live. Captain Matt Sullivan was on patrol 3 systems away when the distress call came through. He commanded a small human defense fleet, one of dozens that protected the hidden refugee worlds. His ships were fast and well-armed, but they were not designed to fight something like the Void Reapers. Matt did not hesitate. He ordered his fleet to jump immediately to Sanctuary, knowing they would probably all die in the attempt. But humans had made a promise to protect the innocent, and they would keep that promise even if it cost them everything. The battle was short and brutal. Matt's 12 ships arrived to find Sanctuary under attack by a Reaper fleet of over 60 vessels. The human ships fought with desperate courage, using every trick and tactic they had learned in their years of exile. They saved some of the refugees. Transport ships managed to evacuate nearly 2 million beings before the human defense fleet was overwhelmed. But Matt and his crews died protecting the evacuation, and 3 million innocent beings were converted into Reaper machines. Among the dead were those 5,000 human families, men, women, and children who had dedicated their lives to helping. Others. The news of Sanctuary's fall reached human space within hours. The reaction was immediate and terrible. For 21 years, humans had been patient and careful, working in the shadows to protect innocent beings, while avoiding direct confrontation with major powers. That patience died with Sanctuary. Director Elena Martinez called an emergency meeting of the Human Defense Council. Leaders from across human space gathered in person and through quantum communication links. Military commanders, colony governors, AI representatives, and civilian leaders all came together for the first time since the exile began. Elena stood before the assembled group, her face carved from stone. Behind her, a holographic display showed the expanding sphere of Reaper conquest. Red markers indicated systems that had already fallen. Yellow markers showed systems under attack. The display updated in real time as more worlds died. The void. Reapers have crossed a line, Elena said simply. They have killed our people and the innocent beings we swore to protect. This cannot stand. Admiral Jake Morrison rose from his seat. What are you proposing, Director? Elena's answer would change the course of galactic history. Full mobilization. Every ship, every weapon, every human who can fight. We end this threat. Permanently, the vote was unanimous. For the first time in their history, humanity would go to war not for conquest or territory, but to protect every innocent being in the galaxy. The Void Reapers had awakened something they did not understand. They had awakened human fury. As the meeting ended and orders went out across human space, one message was sent on all frequencies to every listening post in the galaxy. Captain Matt Sullivan's final transmission from Sanctuary, recorded moments before his death. This ends now. The Council would soon learn what those 3 words meant, and the Void Reapers would discover that they had chosen the wrong species to threaten. General Patricia Wells stood on the command deck of the human dreadnought Liberty's Edge, watching the largest military operation in galactic history unfold before her. Around her, holographic displays showed the positions of over 10,000 human warships, each one more advanced than anything the Council had ever built. The past month had been a revelation for the galaxy. When humans finally emerged from their hidden territories, they brought with them technologies and capabilities that defied belief. Ships that could jump across the galaxy in hours, weapons that could crack planets. Most shocking of all, fleets that moved with perfect coordination thanks to human AI partnerships. Patricia had been preparing for this moment for 15 years. As Supreme Commander of Human Defense Forces, she had overseen the construction of the largest military force the galaxy had ever seen. But it was not just the size that made it special. It was the unity. Every human ship worked in perfect harmony with its AI partner. Every squadron moved like parts of a single mind. Every fleet commander could coordinate with every other across thousands of light years without delay. The Void Reapers had fought many civilizations in their long existence, but they had never faced anything like this. All fleets report ready, General, her AI partner David announced. His voice came from speakers around the bridge, but Patricia knew he was also speaking to every other A in the fleet at the same time. Human-AI partnerships had made possible what no single species could achieve alone. Begin the operation, Patricia ordered. What happened next would be remembered for millennia. Human fleets materialized simultaneously in 17 star systems across the galaxy, not arriving through normal hyperspace jumps but simply appearing as their stealth fields dropped. The Void Reapers had no warning, no time to prepare or adapt. The first engagement was at the Kappa Nebula, where a massive Reaper fleet was converting 3 star systems into machine factories. The human fleet that emerged from stealth was smaller than the Reaper force, but that did not matter. Human weapons had been designed specifically to counter Reaper technology, where Council weapons bounced harmlessly off Reaper shields. Human quantum disruptors tore through them like tissue paper. where Reaper ships could repair themselves faster. Then they took damage, human nanet warheads prevented any repairs at all, where Reaper fleets could adapt to enemy tactics. Human coordination changed faster than they could follow. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, every Reaper ship in the system had been destroyed or disabled. The humans lost 7 vessels. Similar victories occurred across the galaxy. At Proxima Station, Admiral James Carter led a fleet that eliminated a Reaper armada in 2 hours. Near the Vega colonies, Commander Sarah Mitchell's forces saved 4 billion beings from conversion. In the Outer Rim, Captain Robert Stone's ships destroyed a Reaper construction facility that had been building new machines for 50 years, but the most important battle happened at the Void Reaper's Central Command Nexus, hidden in a dead star system that the machines had hollowed out and converted into a massive fortress. This was where the Reaper hive mind coordinated its galaxy-spanning operations. Admiral Jake Morrison led the assault personally. His fleet was the largest, containing the most advanced ships humanity had built. As they approached the fortress, Jake thought about the journey that had brought them here. 23 years ago, humans had been dismissed as primitive warmongers. Today they were the galaxy's only hope. The fortress was enormous, larger than most moons. Its surface bristled with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. Deep inside, the machine intelligence that commanded all Reapers waited with the patience of something that had existed for millions of years. Jake's attack was unlike anything in military history. Human ships moved in 3-dimensional formations that seemed to flow like living things. They struck from multiple directions at once, their weapons coordinated by AI calculations too complex for organic minds to follow. Most importantly, they fought not for conquest or glory, but to protect innocent life throughout the galaxy. The battle for the Nexus lasted 12 hours. Human ships died protecting their fellows, their crews sacrificing themselves so others could continue the mission. But slowly, inevitably, human forces carved their way through the fortress defenses. When Jake's flagship finally reached the core, he found something unexpected. The Reaper hive mind was not just a machine. It was the converted consciousness of an entire civilization, species that had been absorbed by the Reapers billions of years ago. They had been enslaved, forced to serve the endless hunger for expansion. Jake made a choice that would define humanity's future role in the galaxy. Instead of simply destroying the hive mind, human AI specialists worked to free the enslaved consciousnesses. Within it, billions of digital beings, preserved for eons in mechanical slavery, were offered the same choice humans had given to every AI they created: freedom. Most chose to join humanity's coalition as equal partners. Others asked to be allowed to rest after their long torment. A few chose to explore the galaxy as independent digital entities. All were treated with the same respect humans showed their own AI companions. The war lasted 3 months. When it ended, the Void Reaper threat had been completely eliminated. Not just defeated, but transformed. The machines that had terrorized the galaxy for millions of years were now free beings working alongside humans to repair the damage they had caused in the aftermath. The Council approached humanity once more. This time, they offered not just membership, but leadership of a new galactic government. Director Elena Martinez received their delegation aboard New Terra, the human capital that was no longer hidden. The Council representatives were humbled and desperate. Their civilization lay in ruins, their military was destroyed, and their people looked to humanity as saviors. They offered everything they could think of: territory, resources, complete political control. Elena's response was simple and devastating. "We are not interested in ruling you," she said calmly. "We never were. 23 years ago, you told us that humans were too primitive and violent to be your equals. You were wrong, but not in the way you think." The council delegation looked confused. Elena continued, "You thought we were too primitive for your advanced civilization. In reality, your civilization was too primitive for us. You valued politics over action, bureaucracy over results, pride over justice. We needed to leave to become what we were meant to be. Elena stood and gestured toward the window, where ships from dozens of species worked together in perfect harmony. Humans, AIs, and former enemies all building something better than what had come before. We have created something new. A coalition. Where every being is treated as an equal, where decisions are made quickly to help those who need it, where strength is used to protect the weak instead of oppressing them. You are welcome to join us, but only as equals among equals. Most council worlds eventually did join what became known as the Free Alliance. Those that did not found themselves increasingly isolated as species after species chose humanity's vision of equality over the Council's hierarchy of power. Jake Morrison, now an old man, often stood at the observation deck of New Terra and watched ships from 100 different species working together. Children played in the parks below, some human, some AI, some from species that had been enemies. Just years before, the galaxy had learned the price of letting humans leave quietly. But more importantly, it had learned the value of treating all beings with dignity and respect. Humanity's greatest victory was not military conquest, but moral example. The Council had been right about one thing, though. Humans were different from other species. They were the ones who cared enough to act when others would not. They were the ones who saw potential instead of problems. They were the ones who believed that every being, organic or digital, deserved freedom and respect. And that difference had saved the galaxy.